Well,
Well,
that was something. It is the end of an era, the pop culture phenom that captured the eyes and hearts of millions around the world, keeping us glued to our screens for countless hours over the span of many years, is gone. Of course, I'm talking about Grumpy Cat, who passed away this week. But
I was
also, Game of
thinking
Thrones
Big
is
Bang
over.
Theory. Big Bang Theory. Isn't that what we're here to talk about?
That also qualifies.
Oh, I thought that's why we were here and people were tuning in. But if you want to talk Game of Thrones, we can do that. I watched both of them. It's fine.
All right.
I
Well,
didn't
let's
really
do
watch Big
Game of
Bang Theory.
Thrones tonight, and we'll talk
Okay.
about Grumpy Cat and the Big Bang Theory another time.
Works
All
for me.
right. So this is Essential TV Live. I am
What's
Luke
up?
Watson, and I'm here with.
Joe Grazzi. Hello. 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 In Long Beach, Long Island. So shout out to all my fellow Long Islanders that are watching right now. And Luke is still hiding out in a sanctuary in a Venezuelan bunker. We're not really sure. Where are you, Luke?
I am in England at the moment.
You're in England. No, that guitar seems too obviously placed for you to really be in England. That looks like a charade to me, if you ask. I don't know. But let's talk about the episode. What did you think? I'm going to ask you the hard question first.
I'm seeing a lot of people joining us here, and I want to know what everyone thinks. The first comment, though, I see here is from Carrie.
Right. I knew it was going to be this divisive. I knew no matter what, half the people were going to be happy, or half the people were going to be sad, or everyone's going to be happy, or everyone's going to be sad. But there was just no way, or rather, I take that back. Like, there was just no way that people were going to be satiated by such. There was so much hype leading up to this, and the more I think about it, like, I didn't love it when I was watching it, but in retrospect, it all kind of made sense to me. I don't think there was anywhere else they could have gone with the show, with them keeping it as a bookend, which is what they wanted. Anything else they would have done would have made it look like, oh, to be continued or whatever it is. So it just seemed like this was the only way they could have wrapped up these stories. Maisie says, I thought they rushed the entire season. Not saying it wasn't good, just rushed. Did they rush it?
That's my criticism, and that's been my criticism since last season, is that all the things that are less than ideal about this series in the last two seasons, I think that it's a direct result of it being rushed. That them just deciding, you know what, we need to wrap this up, and we're going to go work on our Star Wars movies.
Right.
So
let's
fast track it. We're not doing 10 episodes. We're doing 7, and then we're doing 6.
They smelt Disney money. They went for it. That's what happened.
Yeah.
They got Disney money. But do you think, I mean, how different do you think it would have been if they would have stayed on the 10 episode, 50-minute marker or whatever it was?
Well, it's just that, like, we'll get into this, but like one of the highlights to me was that Daenerys is like full on Mad Queen, she is Emilia Clarke for the first time in this series is like really incredible. Like she's just owning.
No, she showed some acting chops. Totally. She normally is a little bit bland for me,
and we get it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
like, that's it. Yeah. We could have had an entire season or an entire half a season, at least 3 episodes, where she is in this zone.
Yeah.
And that would have made the series better.
Yeah. It's a shame because the person that she becomes for literally those, not even less than 10 minutes, she had like, her speech to her army and your minions and whatnot. And then she's got a 2-second love scene before she gets killed. Spoiler alert. But it was like that person that she became a completely different person. So it wasn't a very emotional death scene when Jon killed her. I did get emotional when Drogon was like trying to push her around like a dog or whatever it was. That got to me. Just going to show that like the best acting always seems to be the CGI fucking dinosaurs going on or whatever it is. Luke says it seems like 7 years has been wasted. I don't think 7 years has been wasted because, again, regardless of how this one episode turned out, you didn't all of a sudden not enjoy the past 8 years because of this one episode. So that, I mean, it doesn't like retroactively take away your past almost decade of happiness. The show is one entire show, regardless of the way it ends or anything like that. Barbara says it sucked. Bran, who couldn't string a full sentence together for 8 seasons, 5 episodes, and then he becomes a chatty Cathy doll and can't shut him up. I don't know if he becomes chatty Cathy. He certainly has things to say, but I think he's able, for the first time now, to be a human being again, because there's no more his three eyes are no longer needed. It seems like.
This is, and I think that Michelle points out something. It says, and I guess John's secret didn't matter in the end. I feel robbed of an ending. That's a very, very good and valid point, and it's part of the fast track thing. It feels like we just found out that John's a Targaryen, and now that doesn't factor in. It could have stewed for a while. It could have been a secret for more than half an episode.
I even thought we were gonna finally get something like Drogon burning Jon and Jon walking out of the flames, like something of that. Like, because clearly the dragon knew that he was a Targaryen because he didn't kill him, just kind of flew away with the body and never reappeared and was never spoken about again or anything like that. That was a huge letdown for me, the dragon arc. It was like, where's that? I was telling a friend before, the whole episode could have been saved if just the last scene, instead of bookending everything, was just Bran sitting there by himself, his eyes going white, and then maybe you see all the crows flying, and then you hover above the crows and you see Drogon, and Drogon eyes are white too. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Now I feel like they did something. But what?
Well, and they hinted that's actually a little bit more of a slap in the face than anything. We've been saying episode after episode as we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Or I have been saying it at least, like when they said to Bran, you will never walk, but you will fly, we all said he's going to warg a dragon. He's going to warg a dragon.
Well, he was a crow. He was flying around as a crow.
He was. Technically, he was flying, but it's kind of
like, crows don't
you just want a car, and it's a used Chevy Cavalier.
All right, well, let's not shit on crows, though. They're very smart. They can fly very fast. And if you're not in a battle, there's no point of being a dragon.
But not only did they not do that in the show, it wasn't a plot element, but then whenever they say, well, where's Drogon? He was last seen flying east. Bran's like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And it's like, wait, you're gonna warg into him off screen or something? You're teasing us. You're a real jerk of a king. Where's the Mad Queen when you need her?
Yeah, I did like the idea. I mean, it does make sense in some hindsight that he's king. I like the idea that he can't father kids and stuff like that. I thought Tyrion crushed it with that speech at the end of them becoming a little bit more of a democracy. I didn't like the Samwell part or whatever, where he's saying, "Oh, the people should vote," and then they all do like a belly laughter. That laughter felt forced. I didn't like that. I thought that was bad acting on everyone's behalf. I didn't like that. That was too breaking the fourth wall. I didn't appreciate that part at all. That was like too much of a wink to real life. And I was like, get out of here.
It was like, you almost expect someone to be like, fake news.
Yeah. So I didn't enjoy that. But what their characters all became, I mean, Jon didn't want to become king. It seems like he wanted to be, I don't know what he wanted to be, but him being the leader of the free folk, I don't know where they're going.
Well, I'll tell you what Jon wanted to be, and that's one of the more, I guess, touching parts of the whole story, or the bittersweet, as George R. R. Martin always says his ending would be. All Jon Snow ever wanted to be was a Stark. And in the end, not only was he not king, but he wasn't a Stark. I mean, kind of a Stark. He's like, he wasn't Ned Stark's son, though.
No, but I think he didn't want to be a Stark anymore after he found out who he really was. But I guess now, I mean, when you're in the Night Watch, you give up your name, right? You don't have a name. So he's not a Targaryen or a Stark or anything anymore. He's just a bastard again? He's not a bastard. Let's see what Carrie says. I'm sorry, but Bran literally knew he'd end up there, knew the amount of bloodshed throughout, and let it happen to be named king. He played the game. Yeah, he won the game. He did it right. And you know what? He just sat the whole time and just kind of enjoyed himself. He wasn't even. He's never even using his arms.
Someone said, do you think that Bran let Daenerys' forces in the Battle of Winterfell go out and get slaughtered on purpose to weaken her? like thinking like that far ahead. Like not only is he going to wipe out the Night King and he knows what's happening there, but he's going to make it so that his ascension is going to be easier. Like that's
it could be. I mean, keep in mind, most of the Dothraki were killed in season 2 when they all have their flaming swords, and then they just. I mean, it's an amazingly horrifying scene. It's probably one of the best cinematic scenes I've seen in the series entirely. It was when all you see is their flaming swords, and they're running up to the blackness, and then the swords just start fizzling out and stuff like that. So that was the bulk of the horde. And Dothraki don't really provide any good in the world. They're kind of like all tyrants to some degree. So getting rid of them a little bit makes sense. Oh, they're just barbarians or whatever it is.
Yeah. This is a really good comment. I want to come back to the Dothraki in a minute, but before this scrolls off the screen, Josu says, "And who was the princess or prince that was promised?" And I think that this is probably the biggest change from what we can expect from the books when George R. R. Martin, if George R. R. Martin ever finishes them. This whole thing about Azor Ahai, the prince that was promised, from the show, we mostly know about it from Melisandre and Stannis, his whole storyline. And since they got past that, it doesn't come up much. Right. But in the books, it's a much bigger deal. And it's like he's this prince who was promised this huge prophecy that like the whole show pretty much revolves around. He's supposed to pull forth Lightbringer, this flaming sword, and use it to, you know, bring justice or unite the lands or whatever that it says. And Jon Snow, if he's Azor Ahai, the prince that was promised, he just stabbed Daenerys and killed her. You know, is it Bran? But he's not carrying Lightbringer. So basically, I think the show just swept it under the rug. Like they swept many things under the rug.
Yeah. They did sweep. There was some rug sweeping. There was definitely some spring cleaning going on. But again, it seemed like Jon just wanted to be left alone, not be in battle. So he's going to take the free folk up north, and there's going to be no bad guys or anything. They're just going to live. Sansa's going to be queen like she wanted to be, and the North's now free. Bran will be in control of the 6 kingdoms, and they'll have relative peace. And I like where like Arya's going all Christopher Columbus now. It definitely made me think, what is because
less genocide, hopefully.
Well, I don't know. Is she going to go start colonizing like all these places? Because is it seems like in Westeros everyone is of the same technological capabilities. Like it's the year 1500 on Earth, but you know, there's no tribes. It's just Europe all over the planet. So is Arya going to like? Is there tribes? You know, west of Westeros? Well, are there other cultures that are still in the Stone Age and stuff? Is she going to convert them? You know, to her god of death or something? I don't know. I have no idea. Well, but I'd be curious to that.
In past years, when we've done these shows, past seasons, a question has come up a couple of times. What is west of Westeros?
Yeah.
And I always said far Westeros.
Yeah.
And Arya actually asks that, and it's like, oh, well, this is convenient because now in 10 years, if Maisie Williams has not had a successful turn towards movie stardom,
they could just give her this. Yeah. Actually, that's a question I was thinking about before. I don't know. It's probably too big to make of a poll, but of all the actors that have become household names in this show, which one of them? Because I mean, outside of Peter Dinklage, because he already was kind of a star, and obviously Jason Momoa, of the people that survived till the last season or whatever it is, which one of them will actually go on to have acting careers?
I want to talk about that.
That will not end up in articles that like, you know, you'll never believe what they look like now or whatever happened to them, because most of them will not have. They'll all have careers and things on their IMDb page of stuff you've never heard of, but most of them are not going to be seen again, and that's just the reality of shows. That's just how it goes.
I want to point out that Richard Madden, aka Rob Stark, has been denying James Bond rumors. So if that would happen, he would win. But I want to point out, that's a good time to remind me, guys, we're going to talk about the final episode today, but we're going to come back next week. So join us if you're watching now, remember to come back on Monday next week, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I want to do a whole show just talking about that kind of stuff, like what's going on with the actors, what's up with the spin-offs, the prequel. Because
we could talk about the good things and the things we wanted to happen that perhaps didn't happen, and what these spin-offs will be, or whatever they are.
The show might be over, but we could talk about this for many more years, but we're just going to do it maybe in another hour. I want to point out before it scrolls off the screen that Michelle points out what could be a very important plot hole. I don't think the Night's Watch is back. If it is, Sam wouldn't be on the council. We'd have to go back.
Yes, I agree.
That's a very good point that I'm sure the writers didn't consider, because otherwise, they should have mentioned that. And Karina said John is going to be free. The thing is, though, it's easy to see that end scene where John's with Torment and they're riding off into the woods, which, by the way, if you go back and you watch season 1, episode 1, it starts basically with the Night's Watch venturing
doing the same thing,
into the woods, doing the same thing. It bookends. So that was actually beautifully done and very smart. But, we don't know necessarily. He's wearing all black. And he was picked up by 2 guys in all black, Night's Watchmen, presumably. So if the Night's Watch doesn't exist, this is an elaborate hoax where they're like, hey, guys, we need you to pretend like you're going to pick up John and take him to Castle Black. But he's really going to go up north and be with the free folk, put on this black IKEA rug.
Right. And is he going to be the new Mance Radar? Is he going to be king beyond the wall? Like, who's going to stop him then?
That's the thing. And that would be fitting if he were, because Mance Rayder said, we have no king. We don't bend the knee.
Right.
And so for Jon Snow to not only be the rightful heir to the throne, but then to have it him not allowed to take it, and then him to reject it and go north, that would be very poetic.
Right.
I think that what's happening there is he's just hanging with the wildlings. He's still in all black. I don't think he's going to be free. I think he's still honoring his vow because he's an honorable dude. Right. But it doesn't really matter.
But what's the vow? I mean, have they decided that there was no Bran speech wrap up about what the hell happened and what the three-eyed raven was and what the Night King was and why he was chosen and why he did what he did. He definitely had a long conversation with Tyrion that was off screen, and that's why I guess Tyrion was like, Bran the Broken, this guy should be king. But it for the most part, just left too many. Normally, I really give this show such a curve because I love it so much, but it left too many things open. It put too much stock into ideas and characters and went nowhere with it. And it wasn't as a twist. It's not like they did something else instead. They just didn't talk about it. It was like, all right, Bran, there's everything about you was fascinating because we thought eventually we were going to find out. But then we never find out, ever. We don't really find out what it is or anything like that. So that was frustrating to me.
It's not as bad as Lost and the J.J. Abrams Wouldn't It Be Cool If Mystery followed by Wouldn't It Be Cool If Mystery. But it's a symptom of rushing through this, where if they wanted to take another season or 2, or even just make the last 2 seasons full length, they could have fleshed things out, and they chose not to.
I think
it's a good jumping off point, though. Yeah. I want to mention Joe Seuss says, no wonder the Night King wanted to kill everyone. He wanted to prevent the series finale, which brings me, to our first poll. And I want to know what everyone thinks about this. Oh, it's not showing up properly for me. So if you don't see it on the screen, this is the Game of Thrones finale was option 1 is excellent, option 2 is satisfactory, and option 3 is disappointing.
Ooh, it's going to be all 3. I'm positive.
And I did a Twitter poll I'll bring up while we're waiting for this to come in. And this is on the Essential TV Twitter following or page. You should definitely follow at @essential_TV because someone took it without the underscore.
Why are people who haven't seen it taking the poll?
So
Who
I
is
had
that
asked people.
7% that doesn't watch
you-
TV shows but takes polls on the TV shows? That's ridiculous.
Well,
I demand to know. I
sometimes
want you to out these 7% because I'm fascinated by them. Like, you don't watch a show, but you
some
watch a show about that show and take polls on the show? What is
some people
that?
get it in their feed, and then they feel the need to tweet. I
All
guess I
right.
don't know. Whatever. People are weird,
Yeah.
but
I'm
yeah,
gonna
it
say
was.
I'm in the satisfactory. It definitely wasn't excellent. It definitely wasn't disappointing. It was disappointing while I was watching it, or like when it was over. When it went to credits, I was like, really? And then it was even the last 10 minutes was disappointing because I knew there was only 10 minutes left. Like, the only time I was really excited during the finale was when Dragon was burning the throne down, which was awesome, and I saw that there's still half an episode left, and I was like, cool. Is John now going to jump on the dragon and kill all the Unsullied and the Dothraki? And like, is he going to do something amazing? Is he going to become a Targaryen or whatever it is? But he didn't do that. The dragon just flies away, and that's it.
I don't know how this is possible, but we tied with satisfactory and disappointing.
Interesting.
I
There's too
guess
much. There's
no. This is the world we live in right now, where people either. Well, I would say if this is the world we live in, everyone would say either excellent or
excellent or
disappointing.
disappointing. No one would say satisfactory.
We're actually the viewers here today. The people that are with us are
Are
more
some
civilized.
nuanced, well thought out, more civilized viewers. Absolutely.
So
We
hey,
appreciate
but
that.
that's it's interesting that it is divisive like this. We
Yeah.
knew it would be.
Yeah.
But
I just thought there'd be more answers to questions that they were building up for so long. I also think that in the end of the day, the show got so big that they couldn't afford to pay all the actors anymore. Those actors are all making $500,000 per episode, and to do another season, I mean, HBO makes money off it, but I think it was just
that's a
not.
good point that
It's
people
not. It's not.
overlook.
People are just. They're just not profiting anymore. They're like, this show is so exhausting to make. Like, it's so crazy. The hype is so insane. We can't pay these actors. We can't kill them all off because this is the reason people are watching them and stuff like that. But like, we can't spend 30 million a year on just the cast. That's not a workable model when we have all
Well,
these other ideas. And again, the producers want to go and they want to make Disney money. They're doing Star Wars. They're like, we don't.
yeah.
Everyone and all the actors want to go on to do other things because every season those actors are playing Jon Snow and Arya again is another year that they're more pigeonholed into being Jon Snow and Sansa Stark or whatever it is. It's going to be very difficult. Like, I don't see Sophie Turner busting out of Sansa Stark, even though she's been the Dark Phoenix and she's going to get her own Dark Phoenix movies. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that
Did you
happens.
know? Did you know that she's a Jonas now?
I did know she's the Jonas. That's right. Or rather, he's a Turner or something like that.
He's House Jonas now.
Way to
Sophie
way
Turner,
for a good
Sansa
way
Stark.
for both of them to stay relevant, because when you have two celebrities that are like
Oh,
not
yeah.
that relevant, but then they pair up, they become relevant because they're with each other. Like, the last thing you could do as a not that relevant celebrity is marry like a civilian. Then you're screwed. You don't want that. Key to all the not so relevant celebrities that watch our show. Just giving you some advice. Karina says, take the good side. This is the closest we're going to be of the ending of A Song of Ice and Fire for at least the next 5 years. Possible
Or
again
ever.
or ever, because I think George R. R. Martin went from fat guy nerd at conventions, just meeting other fat guy nerds reading books, to now he lives on a yacht surrounded by Victoria's Secret models, so he has no incentive to write anymore. He's not depressed. He went from a suppressed artistic fat guy that never gets laid to a rich dude that probably gets laid all the time and just does not need to make art anymore. He's done. He figured it out. Like, what's his I don't know, Luke, what do you think about that? I think he's just hanging out with money and models right now. And just, it's going to take, I think it's going to be a distraction.
It's probably a safe assumption.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a very real chance that George R. R. Martin will never finish these books. I think that at this point, we all just have to acknowledge that that is possible, in which case this is what we have on screen. Now, the thing is, though, if you're disappointed in the way that the show ended, at least take solace in the fact that there's a chance that you could, if he finishes the books, you can have this alternate version of this story that you can enjoy that
Right.
I like the fact that they're different. I like the fact they have this common DNA, they have common characters, they have
Yeah.
the things I like about the show, I like about the books, the things I like about the books, I like about the show, and yet they go in two different directions, and now I can enjoy both. It doubles my entertainment as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
I will say I didn't love the presenting of the book called A Song of Ice and Fire. I could have that was a little bit too breaking the fourth wall again for me. And another thing, like, how would Tyrion not be in that story? He's the hand of this, he's the hand of that. I mean, you can't write that story if you know the story without him. So that was a funny joke about him, but I didn't really understand how that could have taken place. That didn't really seem. I don't know if that really seemed like that made sense.
It was a little heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Rihanna says, people who say the episode was disappointing, what was your main reason? And please, that is a great question. I'd love to know specifically. Like, we can do a poll and say, did you love it or did you hate it? But I'd like to know, like, I want people to back it up. Like, what did you like? What did you not like? So please
I would
feel
say
free to comment
personally,
and
it's
we'll share as
because
much as we can.
a lot of it is just because one thing that I myself and I think everyone else loved about the show was the mystery and the possible outcomes and the upcoming possibilities and stuff like that. And even if you didn't like something, there could be an amazing turn and you'd be like, oh, okay, I get why that happened because I really like that this happened. And if that wouldn't have happened, then this wouldn't have happened. But now that it's over, there's a lot of things that we put emotional stock into and we're waiting for some type of outcome, even if it wasn't a satisfactory outcome. And in this episode, there was no outcome. It just kind of ignores a lot of things, which was fine as long as there was always one episode left. But now that there's nothing left, it's just you now just ignored them, and it was almost the opposite of fan service a little bit. They went the other way of Avengers Endgame. Like Avengers,
I
you know what I'm
do
saying?
I do want to point out when we started we've done a stream after every episode since this season began. And I said at the very beginning, I have little faith because they're fast tracking it. And it seems like they're doing a lot of things that are a little fan servicey. I said early on, I had little faith they'll do the right thing. And I just said, I hope that they don't do it so that Jon Snow and Daenerys get married. They have the prince who was promised as their child. Like, I'm so glad they didn't do that. So
Right.
I have to say that even though this is not a perfect ending, it could have been far worse. And I'm
Oh
glad
yeah.
they didn't do that. And
And
I do.
it still was not what I was expecting. So I mean, most of the things that happened were new to me. It was not, again, to bring back like the Avengers movie, everyone knew what was going to happen. It was just how. In this, no one knew how or what was going to happen. So I thought that was interesting. Karina says, also, I think apart from the writing, we need to appreciate the other things the show gave us. Obviously, and again, you can't judge the series on this episode. This episode doesn't discount all the amazing conversations and all the amazing things that has happened before that. I mean, this show set a new precedent on what TV can be, let alone what entertainment in general could be. And for the not the niche, for just the category of period pieces in the Middle Ages, I mean, they stepped the game up. It's hard to even watch things. It's like try and watch the scene of Smog in The Hobbit burning down a village and stuff like that. It's so hokey in comparison to last week when it was terrifying, when things were terrifying, battles are terrifying.
And that's a very good point. And I want to point this out. The thing that I said, when the Night King storyline was wrapped up abruptly, we didn't expect it to go that quickly. And I said, well, now the show clearly is going to get back to King's Landing and Cersei and the political thing,
which is what it made it so interesting to begin with.
Which is what was the show. This show worked because, as opposed in contrast to a Lord of the Rings, which it's often compared to, this show always started very.
Or a Star Wars. There's no bad or good. It's like everyone is bad for what they think is good reasons, or good for bad reasons, or whatever it is. People are nuanced. People are human beings.
It's
not
very
Jedi
real.
versus the whatever. It was real people. It wasn't evil, the dark of evilness versus the light of goodness or anything like that.
But it wasn't like a CGI fest where the
No,
dragons, they started as tiny little dragons and then they eased us into the fantasy elements of big dragons that even when that happens, it's not like they're spending like hours with CGI dragons fighting each other. It's like it could be any major like war-winning weapon. Like it always felt grounded. And as another comparison, like, and that's where it's a contrast from Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings is like Peter Jackson, 3 hours of CGI armies, like over the top. It's a little too George Lucas Star Wars prequels. They're great movies, but they are super CGI fantasy epics that are
and the armies
really relatable.
Yeah, and the armies are the bad guy armies are boring. They're like goblins and orcs and stuff like that. They're not real people that you care if they're burning or dying or anything like that. So this showed us more of real war, dragons aside, but what war looked like. I mean, war's still really terrible, but it's not as face to face as it used to be. Although I've never been to the army, so I'm not positive, but I'm pretty damn sure wars are not fought with knives and swords and whatnot anymore.
Those damn bone spurs.
Yeah, right? Selena says, let me say that better. I think we'd have been a great statement had Drogon melting the throne been him indicating that there should not be a single ruler, but that each kingdom should be autonomous. That is a good point too. But again, like
this was all Drogon's idea.
Like Drogon burnt down the throne, and I was like, oh, cool. And then took Daenerys and flew away, and I was like, cool. And then the screen goes black, and I was like, awesome. Now what's going to happen? And it's like 6 weeks later. And I was like, yo, I want to see what happened in those 6 weeks. I want to see the scene. Who caught Jon Snow? Did he try and fight his way out of it or anything like that? Did they just kidnap? Did they just get him? Like, why was Daenerys walking around by herself in a collapsing tower? Like, why was she so exposed?
She had a guard, though. This was cool, though. When Drogon was outside covered in ashes, that was a pretty good reveal. Like, that was her sole guard. And probably the only person that would have gotten through was Jon Snow, which was nice because a lot of us were thinking Arya was going to be the one that would kill her in the end.
Right.
Because that's Arya's thing. But I think when I saw the way they set that up, I was like, okay, well, this is nice because they're telling us subtly Jon Snow is literally the only person
that could get past the dragon. Yeah. That made sense. I like that. But still, I don't know. I just wish there was, obviously they set up some type of relationship between the dragon and Jon Snow, and it just all culminated into the dragon just not killing Jon Snow after he kills Daenerys. And that was kind of the only thing. And it looked like he was prepared to die. It looked like he was prepared to get burned, and then he just melted the Iron Throne instead. But why did you do that? Like, for what purpose? They're gonna put, what does Bran sit on now? Now you think Bran's pissed? Like, god damn it! Now I have to like make a new thing like out of toothpicks with like crow breath or something.
Bran literally does not need a throne. He's got a wheelchair. However, it reminded me of something. I just want to throw up a little personal picture. A couple seasons ago, this was, the pedicabs in New York, where guys got a little bicycle and he's wheeling. I was walking along Fifth Avenue. I was heading to work, and I saw this on the corner. They had the pedicabs, and they had the throne on the back. So
look at that cool motherfucker's glasses, leather coat. What's up? That's New York.
But the idea that a throne with wheels is not that outlandish.
So you're saying your pedicab predicted this the whole time? That's pretty intense.
Also, ever since that day, I've wondered, what did they do with that Iron Throne attachment when they were done with that promotion? Where can I get it?
That is a very good question. It's definitely floating around eBay somewhere. That's a guarantee. That's an absolute guarantee. But so there's no more throne, and Bran's the king of the six king. Why are the kingdoms even deciding to be reigned by Bran? Why are they cool with that? Bran doesn't really have an army. Like, it just seems like there's no reason. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, is Cersei really even a tyrant? Like, why was she so terrible? She did some bad things, but like, she only did some terrible things because people were going to war with her. Like, if people would have just stopped fucking with her, she would have been a fine queen, it seems like. So like,
She's not the worst ruler that they've had.
I'm just
Uh,
saying. I'm just saying.
So
So
let's ask people here, what do you think? And this is a yay or nay binary. All hail King Bran. Are you down with Bran the Broken, or are you not down with Bran the Broken?
he's definitely
And
the
there's a
best
lot of
choice.
reasons for one or the other.
I don't think of anyone else that could be king that wouldn't induce war and fighting. And also, I think
Well,
the
I
fact
have
that he's crippled is good because they're all like they're all chivalrous. Like they're not going to hit or kill a crippled person. So he's already got a
you
little
wouldn't
bit
hit a
going
guy with
for him.
glasses, would you?
No, so he's
You
shielded in
wouldn't usurp a
glasses.
guy with glasses.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think
I have
people
a
are into
question
King
for you
Bran.
though.
What do you
I have a
got?
question for you though. King Bran, do you think that King Bran is ruling across all of time and space now? Because he spends most of his time in the past. He can see the future. Is King Bran, now that he is the guy and people are going to take care of him all day, every day, he doesn't have to have tell Hodor what to do and get carried around fighting zombies. Do you think that he's using his power to go back in time and put right what once went wrong, quantum leap style?
Would he have done that anyway? Even if he wouldn't have became king and he would have just got sent back to Winterfell, he would have had a pretty damn cushy life, right? He would have just been sitting there, probably have even more time to control the
Yeah,
world. I don't know. I
maybe,
don't know. It was
maybe.
weird that he wanted to do it. I liked Tyrion becoming Hand, and I really did like um, Sir Brienne writing about Jamie in that book that from the season 2. I thought that was a great callback, and I thought giving him a couple of pages and stuff like that. I didn't appreciate as an artist myself how quick they made it look like the ink dries, how she just writes it and then closes the book. No. You got to let that shit dry for a day, or else you're getting smudges and stuff
I
like
that
that.
was that was like my OCD was like, no, don't do that.
I
Don't
was like,
close
dude,
the
you can't
book.
just flip the
You leave it
page. Like, are you
open.
crazy? You're crazy. But she's got some good penmanship.
To me, that
So
was
that
worse
was
than the
nice.
water bottle. I just couldn't believe it. I just real quick, I want to close out the poll here. 60% are down with King Bran. 40% are looking for the next usurper.
Well, the problem with, I love the idea of King Bran. I just don't really love the way it was done. Like, again, you had this epic melting of the Iron Throne. Like, whoa, what's this going to mean? And then all of a sudden, 5 weeks later, and everyone's at the Dragon Pit. Like, who made that meeting? There's 1,000 Northmen outside. Like, I would have really liked to have gotten a peek at those 6 goddamn weeks that happened, or however long that went by, where Jon and Tyrion are still in the cell, and obviously Sansa comes to King's Landing and whatever it is. So that was weird. They glossed over something that seemed more important to some degree.
Hodor.
Hodor. So that to me was annoying. I don't like when they do that. That's like the bullshit of, oh, it was just a dream or something like that. Just kind of waking up out of the fog of war or whatever it is, and then just deciding to move on with the story. Travis says, so if the Night King would have killed Bran, who would be the next best person to rule? I don't know. I don't think it could be Daenerys because she's crazy. I don't think it could be Jon because he's just not that smart. I think Sansa's would be the only
No,
person.
if the Night King would have won, the only person to rule would have been Cersei until the Night King marched south and killed her and
Right.
everyone else. Because if
So
he would have killed Bran, he would have won the North. So it's a good question, but it's also it has very short relevancy.
and did the Night King even want the throne? That was the whole thing. Like Bran knew so much, and they were alluding to like all these secrets that we are gonna finally find out. Like even if the answers are stupid, we didn't even get stupid answers. We just didn't get any answers. Now Bran's just like this. He's kind of cocky now. He went from like this humble, broken kid to like this cocky motherfucker in a wheelchair that he's probably going to start pimping out in gold and stuff like that. So I don't know. Mari says, I thought Bran could only see the past, not the future. I think that is true, right?
I think he can see the future, but it's not as clear.
Right. Something like that. I don't know. I thought it was also very
It's like
um,
Doctor Strange, where he can see possible futures, and they
right.
only win in one.
Right. I was just weirded out by the fact that at that council, when they're like, who should be king, it doesn't even come up that John's a Targaryen. Like, how does that not even come up in that
Because
conversation?
listen, everyone who was really into the idea of a Targaryen ruling after Daenerys changed their mind. It wasn't really a qualifier anymore.
Right. True, but it seemed it seemed like they went out of their way to not bring that up. I was nice to see Lord Robin of the Vale, though. I haven't seen him
Oh yeah, he was.
in a long
I
time.
want to bring him up in a second, but before I lose the comment, Selena says, "I will sit on the iron lump and rule the ashes," and that's a good callback. I noticed everything was very ashy, and it goes back to that incredible Littlefinger line, or it's not even a Littlefinger line. It's about Littlefinger, where they said he would watch the world burn if he could rule over the ashes, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what happens basically with Daenerys, which also makes me sad that Littlefinger didn't make it to the end because he was one of the best characters.
Yeah.
Carrie says maybe Bran is still the Night King. Oops, I lost it. Wait, hold on. Maybe Bran is still the Night King and they both had the same end goal. So maybe after those credits rolled, it was,
Did you all stick around after the
the theory
credits?
that
Like,
Bran was the Night King all
did
along.
were you watching the credits thinking that like there was going to be a coming next or something like that? There was a trailer for some new show that looks Game of Thrones like lots of mysteriousness and a big
Oh, yeah.
beasts or whatever and an
We're
all
going to
star
talk
cast.
about that next week because I
Yeah,
have a
gotcha.
whole bunch of like, these are the things that you could watch now that Game of Thrones is over. Come back to us on Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to talk about all the spin offs, prequels, whatever. Oh, also, while I'm thinking about it, while I'm promoting us, while you're watching, click share. Get some more people in here. We got a couple more minutes left. We're going to talk about some important things. Bring your friends. Christina says, I would think that the Night King had seen the future too when it comes to Bran. I think he could to some degree. Again, it's like
But
they
we
never
don't know
really
that.
explain this.
They never go into anything. They never show anything from, again, and I've brought this up a million episodes. We find out a couple of years ago that the Night King has a castle, which means they have a
Well,
culture, which means there's something over there.
you were so desperate to see their castle.
Well,
You're
why
all
did they
about their
show
castle
it? Why did they show it and then never even allude to it again?
because
Like,
it's one of those wouldn't it be cool if things, and they maybe thought maybe we'll get to it, and then they just didn't because they wanted to go to Star Wars.
right.
Um,
Which I
but
get. Listen, if
the
someone
thing about
offered me
the Night
Star
King,
Wars, I would drop things too. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I don't think I
one
was
thing
not
when it
let down
comes
by
to
this season. I don't think this was a bad season at all. I was just let down by a lot of the questions that went unanswered, but in general, I think this is one of the greatest show that's ever aired and set the bar for entertainment in general. So this is a show that will be talked about forever. And I think that the ending will start to become appreciated, like The Sopranos, like Seinfeld, like all these shows that got too big that you just couldn't end it on any note that didn't disappoint people because it was ending, and that in itself was disappointing. I think that if people were to watch it now, kind of knowing things, if they watch the whole thing, if they haven't watched it before, they might appreciate it more. They might like it more. I don't know. I'm someone that like you all got really not too, but so emotionally tied up in it that of course you're going to be let down because you take things personal. It's like it's your show when it's not your show. It's not even there. It's just a show, and this is what happened. But again, I would say overall that this last season was really cool. I thought the battles were cool. I thought everything looked
I
cool.
agree. I agree. Like I think that at some point I temper my expectations. I saw what they were doing when they fast tracked last season. I would say that I was more disappointed in last season than this season because of that. Because last season, when they were fast tracking things, I had to adjust to the fact that we weren't getting the 10 episodes of development and attention to detail that we'd become accustomed to.
Yeah.
And so I think because of last season and my criticisms with that just continuing, I've become more numb to it.
Right.
It annoys me, but overall, I did enjoy this season. I did enjoy this finale. I don't want to say that I'm not one of these guys that's petitioning to like
Yeah, that's just
remake
ridiculous.
the
That's
season.
ridiculous. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
People
And
will petition if
yeah,
you say
yeah.
people will petition for anything. Listen,
Yes.
it's not going to happen. We're not going to forget about The Last Jedi. We're
But
not
I digitally signed something. But I clicked yes though. I clicked. I used my finger. That means that they should put in 100 million and make a whole new series, right? That makes
Well,
sense.
listen,
I clicked.
if HBO could get these guys come back for another season and keep subscribers for another season, they certainly would, because this is, money in the bank to them.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. I mean, they don't really have a show that's even probably half as big on HBO right now as Game of Thrones. But then again, you know, who knows what the future holds? There's always going to be a better show, and there's always going to be a worse show. What does Michelle say? I enjoyed what I got to see. Just disappointed by the rush, lack of the showing Cersei would have been showing. Questions unanswered. Yeah, there was just a lot of questions went unanswered, and none of that ever bothered me up until last night when I was realized like, oh, they'll never get answered. So now I still don't know what the Night King was. I still don't understand what the Three-Eyed Raven was. I still don't have answers to any of these questions, and those questions were a lot of the reason why I was so obsessed with the show, was because I was getting little pieces and ideas, and I was coming up with my own theories, thinking that, oh, I'll get the answer and I'll be right or I'll be wrong, but I don't know if I was right or if I was wrong because they didn't.
That's really important, though. That's the nature of
That's the nature of this
shows.
show.
Game of Thrones, Lost, like even Star Wars after The Force Awakens, like all these shows, especially everything J.J. Abrams touches, part of the allure of them, part of what makes us tune in every week and become addicted to them, the algorithm that drives us, is this mystery and the theories, right? The Reddits of
The
like
what if, the what could
theories.
be. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And the problem with that is that whenever you light that fire, you can't put it out. And eventually, with a show or a movie series, you need to wrap it up. And it's a dangerous game when you play the game of plots.
Yeah, yes, right. The game of plots, you live or die. That's right.
And this is what happens. There's no way that when you do this, people will always be angry about the end no matter what.
But again, like I said, in retrospect, like what they did with the characters, Jon going north to be with the Free Folk, Sansa getting, freeing the North and being queen over there, Bran being in charge of it all in the end and becoming the king, and Tyrion being the hand of the king, and then all being back to normal, like them squabbling at the High Council, in the High Council chamber. I thought that was funny, and then he brings up the brothels, the donkey and the ass thing. I was like, those are and Arya going to be a white colonizer for tribes or whatever it is, or
I'd
something
like
terrible.
to think that Arya was going to solve mysteries every week.
That could be it too. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure what her crew was either. Was Gendry with her? I don't know.
Well,
I didn't see
that's
Gendry.
Gonna be, they left that open-ended because when they do the Arya spinoff, they want to see whose career has stalled, and now they're part of the show.
Right. Again, like I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in really any of them. I think really just Peter Dinklage and Jason Momoa. What other? I don't know. I'll ask the audience. Besides Peter Dinklage and Jason Momoa, besides the people that already had acting careers, which of these kids that we watch become adults are going to go on to become household names for reasons that are not Game of Thrones? Because I don't like Sophie Turner's definitely making the biggest run for it, but usually when it comes to TV shows that are this big, only one of the cast members ends up getting a career, and the rest of them live their lives for what they have done and end up on those like where are they now type articles or whatever it is. So we'll see.
I believe the technical term is being chandlered.
Being chandlered? Oh, because yeah, I guess that makes sense. Well, that's the whole cast. How did that thing end? I don't remember.
Well, Jennifer Aniston's done okay, but mostly just because she sells tabloids.
Right. Right.
We see a lot of people are coming in here. Arya will be a household name. Maisie
I don't think
Smith.
so.
I'm pretty sure you mean Maisie Williams.
Yeah.
She's very good. She's very good.
This is going to be like unfortunate. I could be totally wrong, but just from a Hollywood perspective, there's not so many roles that she's not a very diverse looking character, which will plays against you as an actor when you can only play
And
so many types of roles. She's not going to be the hot girl in a movie or something like that, and she's too old looking to be the daughter, but she can't be the mom. I mean, when you think about movies that are made, this was a role that made sense to her. So most roles are not, as opposed to Sophie Turner, who's the tall and pretty, or the Kid Harington that could be maybe an action star or something like that. It's going to have to be a lot more specific movies. For like Maisie Williams could be an amazing, amazing actress. I'm not taking that away from her. I'm just saying, based on the types of movies that people make big money to star in, it's usually not people that are, or it usually is people that are of a specific mold, and that's just the reality of Hollywood. Game of Thrones is Hollywood, and it is what it is. Karina says probably some of them will be in any of the D&D Star Wars movies. I'm sure they'll be in that, and I'm sure they'll be on Black Mirror episodes also, because England is proud and Europe is proud of them. So they'll all be huge stars in England. Genre, that's for sure.
They'll be genre stars. Like the producers of Game of Thrones are making Star Wars movies. I am sure that they will pull some of them in. Like we've even seen like The Mandalorian, which is going to be a Star Wars Disney Plus TV series. It's going to be the first Star Wars TV series with live action. Right. Pedro Pascal, who played Oberyn Martell, he's going to star in it. So these guys, and by the way, he's
you're right. He is
don't
one
mention
of the guys.
him enough.
He is one of the guys. He is one of the guys that's gone
Narcos. Yeah, and he was in the Kingsman sequel. Like he's very good. He deserved. Yeah. He got out early and he got out fast. Like
but also at the same time, like he fits a great mold. He fits more of a mold than Jason Momoa, who really can't play a regular person or anything like that. Like Oberon can. He can play the hero, the action star, the non-action star. He could be in a period piece, a non-period piece. I mean, Jason Momoa can really be an action star, and that's it. He can go the way of Schwarzenegger and make lots of money and be a huge global sensation, but he's not going to be the love interest in some rom-com, or he's not going to have the breadth of Tom Hanks or something like that. I'm just saying. I'm
just picturing Jason Momoa in the lead role of every Tom Hanks movie.
I think he'd make a great Captain Sully, for the record. I thought he would have been a great Captain Sully, maybe a great Captain Phillips, like all of those. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think Big would have been a much more hilarious movie if the kid woke up looking like Jason Momoa. That would be funny too.
I mean, I'm going straight to Forrest Gump.
That'd be fine. I'd actually be terrifying. Travis says he thinks Tormund would be a household name. He has great charisma. Tormund does some big European movies, but again, Tormund is that big hair and the big beard and the barbarian. He's going to be difficult.
Although there was a really great ad campaign with him. I'm sorry, I forget the actor's name that plays Tormund, but I forget what it was. It was like an Expedia type thing, a Travelocity campaign. But what it was they just hired him to be the face of this campaign. They put him in a nice suit, but it wasn't like a fancy suit. It was like a bright colored suit. And he just had the big beard and he just looked like Tormund in a suit. And I remember seeing the posters in elevators and I'm like, whatever this brand is, I like it. Obviously, the campaign didn't work because I don't remember the brand.
It's a good way around Tormund. And the funny thing is, like, I obviously keep comparing it to Avengers, which is another thing that just wrapped up, that it was a decade in the making. Every single one of those actors became household stars and will continue into action stardom. Obviously, that's an action movie about superheroes and stuff like that. But, that gave us everyone from, like, really from Chris Hemsworth to I mean, really most of them. Most of them were actors beforehand, but now they're mega superstars. And the Game of Thrones cast is going to enjoy that for another year. But I don't know. Maybe Dark Phoenix will be amazing, and Sophie Turner has the acting chops.
I want to mention something about Maisie Williams and the X-Men universe, because a lot of people don't realize this. Yes, Sophie Turner, Sansa, is going to play Jean Grey again. She's already played it in X-Men movies, but Dark Phoenix is going to be like, she's the star, she's the focus. This movie, I've heard so things from the little bit of footage that's been released that people have seen in advance. Like, whatever. We'll see. I'm crossing my fingers. I hope it's good. But there's another X-Men movie spin-off called New Mutants that Maisie Williams was one of the stars of. And this movie has been delayed like 3 times.
Is that going to be an MCU movie? Is that an MCU movie?
No. So that's the
It's a
thing. This
separate.
was
Okay.
before Disney acquired Fox. So this is the X-Men universe separate from the Marvel universe. And it was supposed to come out in like April of last year, April 2018. And it's been postponed. And the only reason, there's 2 reasons it'd be postponed. A, because of the Fox acquisition by Disney that changes things.
Right.
But really, B, is like, this movie must not be good. And I hate to say it, but that's going to be a blemish on Maisie Williams' career, because
if it's not good,
if it's not good, she's trying to catapult off of Thrones. If this movie comes out and it bombs, that's just the nature of acting. Like,
yeah, and that's that's what's going to happen with Dark Phoenix. Also, if Dark Phoenix is good, that's fantastic. But if it's bad, it will like it's not going to be her fault, but it will. She will have to bear more of the brunt of that than a lot of the other actors involved. That, you know, even if the movie's good or bad or not, they're not carrying anything lofty. I mean, these kids, these actors got so famous so quickly that they're going to have a much harder time. Granted, they have a huge leg up because they're known, but you know, thousands of people get known every year in shows or movies, whatever it is. And then, I mean, shit, there was a guy that we don't even remember his name that was cast as Superman and did a fucking Superman movie. And now he could barely get a TV role to save his life. So his
name was Brandon Routh.
Brandon Routh, that's right.
Superman Returns.
Right.
And then years later, after his career fizzled, he was cast in Legends of Tomorrow, which is like the C-list
exactly
show, which is, listen, he was fine as Superman. The movie was terrible. It wasn't.
But that's what I'm saying. He took the brunt.
Example.
Yeah. Like you can't. It doesn't. There is no guarantees in Hollywood, and just because you've broken one barrier doesn't mean you're going to break some next barrier. Will they always have money and get some residuals? Sure. Hopefully they all have good accountants and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't think, you know, I don't want to be mean, but like there are definitely some people on the show that I've said before that I just do not think are very good actors. That's what happens when great roles happen to okay actors. And if the actor already has an English or a European accent and they're reading these, you know, Shakespearean lines or whatever it is, it's going to come off, you know, a little bit more authentic.
They're taking our jobs.
They're taking our jobs. Exactly. But it doesn't mean that they're a good actor. No, that doesn't mean that they're versatile. And Game of Thrones is so specific that they might go the way of, I mean, look what happened to Orlando Bloom. Orlando Bloom got so big so quick. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean and Lord of the Rings, and then that was it. He couldn't really do anything. Like I think he still does some Pirates movies every once in a while, but he just got shoehorned into period pieces, and that was it. You know, he got so big, and you know it's tough. So we'll see. I hope they all go on to do big things. They won't, but I'm curious to see who will and who won't. I know who I'd put my money on and who I wouldn't, but I don't know. I always think that's an interesting thing to watch happen after when a show gets that big. Selena says some boner, good word use, actually had posted an outline of the final episode last week. And it was exactly what happened. How do they get this stuff? I don't know. I didn't hear about that. But I think also there's so much fan theory that someone's bound to get it right.
Well, that's true. And that's this. I see this every time. Like it comes up in the news all the time. Like, how did the Simpsons predict X? And it's like,
it's because there's 30 years of Simpsons. They did everything.
30 years. They've done everything. At this point, the world is just copying the Simpsons because it's inevitable.
Yeah. So I think that is something to consider for sure. But the Simpsons is still on. They're holding it down. I saw someone and again, you don't know what is a spoiler and what was just someone's idea. There was one I saw a drawing, like I think it was before episode 1 came out, like this year, and it was of the Night King and Daenerys like together as lovers, and I was like, oh fuck, like someone just ruined it for me or something like that. Like I can't believe
Now
I
I'm
know that
irritated that
now.
didn't happen.
Yeah, I know that would have been a cool ending or something like that, or like I don't know. Karina says Starks took over the world from Dorne to north of the Wall and west of Westeros. I'm happy just with that. The North conspiracy works. I guess it was a northern conspiracy to some
I
degree.
want to point out one thing though that really did bother me about this episode, and that's the fact that when Sansa says, "Yeah, we'll support my brother as king, but I get to be independent up north," and literally nobody else, no, Dorne's not like, "Hey, wait a second, can I do
That's what
that?
I was saying. I was like,
I do it."
why wouldn't like anyone else stand up and be like, yo, I'm gonna take this, and run too.
That was dumb and that was lazy. And
Yeah,
I
and
know
like, why would
we're at
Sansa
the
even
genius.
want that? Her brother's king. Like, the North is king of all seven kingdoms. Like, what's the problem? That wasn't anything that's not what Ned Stark wanted. Ned Stark wanted the seven kingdoms to all be together. So that was a little bit, again, shoehorned and weird. And I know that they wanted to make her queen, and I think that also that was a little bit of a nod to shit. We had the most female empowered show in the game, like of all time, and now we just killed off all the females and the guys rule again. Like I think they wanted to not go that direction for political reasons, and I get that. For the record, I definitely get that. And I thought that could have been done better, just in the same way that I liked the idea of Bran becoming king. I just thought that they rushed that too far. And I don't know. What do you got, Luke?
This I would be remiss if I did not point out my favorite moment in this entire episode, perhaps in this entire season, and that is when Ed Murtelli stands up, starts to pitch himself as king. And first of all, I'm thinking this is extra hilarious because at least half the viewers are like, "Who's that guy?"
Who is that guy? No one even knows who he is. Yeah,
He's been in
exactly.
like 3 episodes, and we haven't. And he's great, and I love this actor. He's awesome in Outlander.
And he's been the laughing stock of
So
all three
when he stood up,
episodes.
I was like, "Oh, please say, oh, yeah, I'll do it. I'll be king." And that's exactly what he did.
I thought he was going to nominate. I thought at least the John secret would come out. Like I don't. It was very weird. So now the Unsullied are going to go start their own house. They can't do that. They don't have balls. So I'm not
Oh,
sure.
that's I think maybe because we've gone almost an hour. I want to close on this.
They're going to Melisandre's island, right, to
Well,
protect
they
it or
are.
something.
So yeah. So when Grey Worm sails off, he's going to what is it?
Yeah, no,
Narth,
something
Garth, Garth.
exactly.
Anyway, he's going there. That's where Missandei and him were going to go retire. And but it's there was a couple things I saw in this episode besides Arya sailing away and obviously having spin-off potential. That end towards the end when Grey Worm is on the ship and Jon Snow is being escorted by the Night's Watchman to his ship, and Grey Worm gives him this look like, I haven't forgotten this.
Yeah.
I'm going to revisit this in a spin-off or revival in 10 years, right? Like the Unsullied are going to be like a bunch of incels out there. They can't have families in the traditional sense. Like
Yeah.
they are potentially a scary threat for the future. And he gave like the Grey Worm actor, I forget his name as well. I should know it by now, but he gave
Torah
Jon
Norjond
this
or
look
something.
like this look sets up a spinoff. It
Yeah.
was so fierce.
It would have been cool to see Jon Snow fight him. That would have been a good fight, right? Because Jon Snow is theoretically the best swordsman, and Grey Worm's also the best, or something like that. There was that point where we was killing the Lannister soldiers, where I thought it might come down to some type of blows. That would have been a good fight. Just saying.
But I want with the spinoff idea though, there's another part that popped out at me on my second watch, especially. Kind of, I noticed it on the first one, the second time, it just like slaps me over the face. When Jon and Tyrion are talking, and I think it's when Jon is a captive still. Jon asked, "Was it right what he did? Right, killing Daenerys?" Tyrion says,
what we
"Ask
did.
me again."
Oh yeah,
He says, "Ask me again in 10 years."
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
as in, ask me again in 10 years if we need a job.
Right,
And
exactly.
then
If we have to go on a
Jon
reunion
Snow
tour and
says
play
to
our own
Tyrion,
songs.
Jon Snow says, "I don't suppose we'll see each other again." Tyrion says, I wouldn't be so sure.
Right.
Then he goes on to say about he might have to go piss off the wall in the north or whatever because
It
he's
was the most of an
it's just
actual
like
ending as
that's
Hollywood's
what
allowed to
if they're
do.
going to
Yeah.
do a spinoff. Those are the scenes they put in the teaser.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, the whole thing with Drogon just flying away. So I saw this was some fan theory that Drogon was going to take Daenerys's body to where did the Targaryens from? Valeria, Volantis, something like that.
Yeah.
And like revive her or something weird. I have no idea. Is he going to bury her? Is he going to come back? Like,
and that's another thing. We've seen people come back from the dead, and like it could happen. Drogon out there is a mystery, like whatever. But they left as much as they wrapped this up in a nice, neat little package, and everyone's got their send off. They've got like the Lord of the Rings style, like 5 different endings that happen with all the different characters.
yeah.
They left a lot of threads dangling that they can easily pick up anytime.
Oh, they could pick up next year and everyone would watch again. So they have definitely all the time in the world to come back and do this. I think the only reason I wouldn't say the property's gone down, but like kind of a property like Star Wars isn't what it used to be but that's because there's been a whole bunch of meh Star Wars movies that's been made that have kind of tainted the brand. I think Game of Thrones, regardless of what you thought of this particular episode, this show was such a strong point in entertainment that in 10 years, the desire for it will be just as big. And anyone that used to watch it is going to still watch it. And in that 10 years, it will gain a lot of new fans of people that want to start watching it. Maybe the books will be done. So, I mean, it'd be weird if this was the last time we ever saw these people again in these roles.
And so, just a reminder to everyone, we're gonna call it quits for the night because there's been a lot to talk about. We wanted to focus on this episode, but next week, Sunday night, they're doing the documentary about the show. We're going to come back again on Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's when I want to get into here's what we know about the spinoffs, the prequels. Here's where things could pick up. Here's where things could go. Here's our favorite parts of the series.
Like, did you know that Sean Bean did all the voice acting for Drogon? Like, that was a huge thing that I found out. Like, he did all the motion capture and stuff. Yeah, he was Drogon the whole time. Like, that shit was crazy. I made that up.
Drogon
like,
didn't die?
No, which is nuts. It's actually the only thing that Sean Bean ever survives is being Drogon. Unless Drogon, like, just flies into the water and commits, like, suicide with Daenerys or something like that. I mean, he didn't fly away happy. And I still don't understand why he melted the throne. Right. Like, is Bran going to wheel his wheelchair up to that exact area and just put his throne there? Like, he put his chair there? Like,
it wasn't of just being so angry you want to slam your fists on the table. Except, right. I'm so angry I want to melt something metal.
Yeah, I don't know. That was bizarre. So it was bizarre, but whatever. Maybe we'll get a little bit more insight in the documentary from next week, whether it makes us happy or not. You know, we have 8 years of dragon fantasies to go on, and the show set up so much that, you know, if you didn't like the ending, make a new one up in your imagination and take 2 Ambien and go for a walk and think about it yourself. And that's you know, right. You can do that.
Everyone, and now our watch is ended.
Yes.
For the night. We'll come back next week. Selena says, remember what is dead can never die. And this show at the moment is dead.
Yes.
But it can never truly die.
It can never truly die. Because what once made money will always make money. That is just how it goes. If it was once worth something, it'll be worth something again. That's why we live in reboot culture. So maybe Game of Thrones will come back as a movie at some point. That wouldn't be shocking at all whatsoever. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and share us, Essential TV. And are we out? Are we out, Luke? I'm going to sing a song.
Play it. Play us out.